Welcome to Waxing the Porpoise, the podcast that dives deep into the unexplored depths of cinema and occasionally the unexplained. This week, G-Baby and the usual suspect Steve dip our toes into the world of international cinema by way of notre frere, Michael Haneke, and examine his darkly unnerving and palpably stoic French feature film, Caché, from 2005. Join us as we discuss allergies, niche South Korean horror titles that Steve has been deprived of, one of the most intense and disturbing depictions of suicide on film, and endure G-Baby's whinging about French first name spellings. The porpoises, midnight companions and keen observers, lie dormant in the shadows while prying eyes lay in wait, hoping to force out the hidden truths of the past and the sins of our youth in Caché. Yeah, we can do highbrow every now and again.
Got your ass.
Let's wax this obscure sea porpoise.
Chase, don't do that.
You see, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back of the crown chakra.
Welcome to Waxing the Porpoise, a podcast where we dive deep into the dark and uncharted waters of film, high strangeness, and everything in between. This evening, we cordially invite you to join us on this episode 95, where we'll be discussing the 2005 mystery drama Caché. I think I'm saying that right. Written and directed by Michael Haneke. Before we dive in, Dick first. Introductions are in order. I will be your host, Jim G. Baby.
Oh my God, you're gonna tell on me?
And of course, joining us on the Cinematic Odyssey is our co-host, the usual suspect, Steve.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Oh my God.
I had to recycle some bumps. I didn't have time for any freshies. How's it going, man?
Hello. Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Getting ready for summertime. Gone to the picture show, baseball game since we talked, minor league, fucking allergies as we talked about are in full force, bodying me.
Have you seen Civil War, or have you heard about it yet? I know we talked about it before.
Yep, I did watch it. Did you?
No. How'd you like it?
I'm of two minds about it, but I think the more I sit with it, the more, I don't know if like is the right word, but the more I kind of get out of it, or I appreciate what it was going for.
Is it like a bummer message movie?
No, not at all.
Okay.
And it's not, a lot of people are knocking him. It's weird. People are knocking him for, like, he didn't make it about fucking, Dems and Republicans, and like make it like, it feels kind of like in a like a Sliders, like parallel universe, maybe.
Okay.
Not as overt, but he doesn't talk, and this is kind of the problem I had with it, and some others have, but not so much that it makes me like shit all over the film. But they don't get into any specifics about the politics, like what caused this split, this secession, where the fuck we're at in the battle. It's like you're kind of like POV, you're dropped in with Kirsten Dunst and her group, and it's more about like, them as journalists being neutral and impartial and just like documenting and seeing it. You get like little tinges of like, you can extrapolate, but like, for instance, like the Western forces that are against the loyalist states in power by the president, who's played by Nick Offerman from Parks and Rec. It's actually a really small role, but so the Western forces are California and Texas, and people are like, they'd never join up. Like, this is, fine. I think you could argue against that in some ways, though, too, if you wanted to go down that route. But I think it just serves. It's like that parallel universe kind of thing. It's like we don't know where we're at in this film.
Yeah.
You know, it's like generic American.
Well, that kind of makes it seem like they went out of their way to not make it like an easy political commentary where,
yeah,
you know, because Texas and California, obviously, yeah, they're very different. But if they were like, oh, it's California and New York versus Alabama and Mississippi, it's like, okay, yes, we get what you're trying to say. It's pretty clear. I will say,
yeah.
I would rather have an ambiguous beginning than an ambiguous ending leading right into this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of this guy in Caché specifically. And I mean, this is popped up in a lot of his other works too. That's kind of like one of his signatures. And one of his mantras, Haneke's, is like, I want you going in and leaving the film asking more questions, and you're not getting that kind of thing. So he's kind of from that school of thinking.
So he's an asshole.
Yeah,
Cool.
This one is pretty goddamn anticlimactic. But back to Civil War real quick. Jesse Plemons shows up. He's in all the trailers and stuff. He's awesome. I would say if you are gonna watch it at all, I think a theater experience would probably get you like how it's intended, because of like the battles and that do happen while they're kind of short and punctuated. It is a pretty tense film. There's a lot of tension. Like it's really a road movie, basically. Like these people are on the road from like New York. They got to swing around and hit like West Virginia and come into DC. They can't go straight in there because the loyalist states in DC are like executing like journalists on site. Like they kind of frame the loyalist states as Nick Offerman, who plays the president, as like kind of like fascist, like he's on his third term. Like things have changed in this. Like it could be like 10 years from now, and things just it's like this guy's idea of maybe where we are in 10 years, and this is how they splinter. So it's interesting in that way. But yeah. I guess we'll save that for another day, because I'm going to just start talking about that movie now. But I would say I did like it on balance, and that it'd be a good theater experience. And yeah, the director is Alex Garland, who is a British dude. So it's kind of like the perfect person to come in if you're wanting to keep things like ambiguous and like from like an outsider's perspective, so you don't fall into that, you know, like message and make it too political, and then it's taking away from like the art, from the thing that's being made. So I think it was a good decision. But I was talking with someone else about this. I also think it would be cool if it were developed Game of Thrones style, like on HBO, and had different factions, you know, like they allude to like the Florida Alliance. So like Florida's doing its own thing. Then there's like the Northwest states. It'd be kind of cool in like, but also make it in kind of like an alternate like universe, not fantastical and shit with dragons or like supernatural shit, but just like somebody's reimagining of like the American landscape, like 30 years from now, and do it in that kind of style of like the backstabbing and like the enemy of my enemy is my enemy kind of thing, like, or friend, whatever the fuck that saying is.
That's interesting.
Fool me once.
Bet you can't fool me again.
Now watch me hit this drive. I guess we should just fucking cut to the chase. What'd you think of this one?
I'm on the fence, and I could really go either way depending on our discussion, because I watched it yesterday. I didn't do a ton of research about it after the fact. I did a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the little bit I did at first kind of really rubbed me the wrong way. But then I was reading a little bit more, and it kind of brought me back a little bit. I mean, I think the biggest complaint I have is obviously the super ambiguous ending. Without even like little crumbs for people to argue about, like to put pieces together one way or the other. It's like there's just nothing. Or
Yeah,
I guess I would say almost nothing.
It's pretty wildly speculative where you want to go from the ending of this.
But I did really like the beginning. I like the acting. I like the cinematography or editing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everything about it. Even when you have that there's like a first little turn where it's like, oh, this isn't exactly what we thought it was. But then there's like the second turn where it's like, okay, this is not at all the type of movie I thought it was, where it goes from like a thriller to a mystery to like a weird psychological drama that I just couldn't connect with. So if you want to go through like a quick synopsis, if you want, otherwise that's fine.
Yeah, this one too. I don't think it's the kind of movie where we're gonna go plot by plot or point by point through the plot of the film. But yeah, I got a quick one right here. So this is a French film. It's wholly spoken in French. And it's set in France. I don't know if I just said that. One thing I don't like is the way French people spell George with an S bothers me.
Okay.
It's dumb. That's silly. Georges. Like, what the what? Get that filthy pig Latin out of here.
I thought you were going to say something about how French is like such an annoying sounding language.
Well, that too. No. So yeah, Georges, Georges, is our main character. He's a TV literary reviewer. He lives in a small yet modern townhouse with his wife Anne, a publisher, and his young son Perrault.
Yeah.
I didn't like that fucking candy ass name either.
No.
They begin to receive videotapes through their mail of their house and family alongside obscure childlike drawings. They visit the police with hope of aid to find the stalker, but as there is no direct threat, they refuse to help. As the tapes become more personal, Georges takes it upon himself to figure out who is putting his family through such horror. A true Michael Haneke classic. First, real quick, too, are you probably not familiar with the name Haneke, Michael Haneke? He had one film that's pretty controversial called Funny Games. This was something he directed in 1997 originally. I can't remember if it's in German. Fuck. I should have had this ready. What language is this motherfucker in? I think it's German.
Also a very annoying language to hear.
Yeah, that's the filthiest fucking language I've ever heard. I love that line from Saving Private Ryan when Jackson tells him, he's like, shut up with that filthy pig Latin. I love that. Yeah, so I'll say German. Funny Games, 1997. So 10 years later, in 2007, he did a shot-for-shot, literally, just with different American actors, shot-for-shot remake in 2007, and it had a wide release. It was in theaters with Naomi Watts from The Ring. Couple other fellows. One dude, Michael Pitt, who was in Boardwalk Empire. You may know him from.
Wait, he did a shot-for-shot remake of what?
The movie Funny Games. So he wrote and directed Funny Games, the first movie in German. Like,
oh, and then sorry.
He just took it and he fucking redid it with all American actors, new crew.
Gotcha. Okay.
10 years later and released it. It is pretty weird situation, but I don't know if you remember, but it's like these two adolescent youths, just like, it's kind of like The Strangers. They just pick a house and they just terrorize their family, hold them hostage, fuck with them. It's sadistic. It's fucking violent. It's very controversial. So he kind of hit money both ways on that, like in the news and with like he had like the most walkouts at Cannes Film Festival in 97 ever when he released this. And like, he's an interesting cat. If you go back and look at his biography, he's got to be in his like 80s now. He's still alive, but he didn't really find success. He did TV and stuff. He didn't find success until he was in his 40s, and then he just went on like to like list off like a dozen bangers in a row. I haven't seen any of them except for Funny Games and this one. I'm not like a world cinema person, but he's been characterized as like he speaks like 4 different languages and shit. He's from Austria. He's filmed movies in German, in French. So he's kind of like this virtuoso, like like a true world director on global cinema scale. So like there's a lot of highly acclaimed shit that he's done that most Americans haven't seen, including myself. But yeah, he's got an interesting backstory, but it makes sense like that kind of person would make this kind of film, because this film's pretty heady, I feel like, and it's got a lot of quiet moments and it's pretty tense. But
well, it
I
makes
struggle
sense
to think
why,
of something else that's like this that I've seen before.
I feel like it
this
makes sense why it's so highly regarded, but not actually that good. But I will say, I did like the direction and so much about it, but it was just the story kind of petered out in the last third.
Yeah, I felt that way this time too. It left me like wanting, and I thought it'd been so long since I've seen this. Like I thought there was more resolution. I totally forgot that there's zero resolution basically. Yeah.
Well, and you had told me, shit, I should bring it up. You told me that this movie was going to blow my dick off and blister my balls in 2 separate texts.
Yeah, dude, that's memory fucking with me, because when I was watching this, I was like, I don't know. I think it was just being younger and seeing it, and that one scene that we'll get to left like an indelible.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't help but do that to you, but I thought it was a 1-2 punch. I thought it was the scene that that this movie's probably most known for, about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the film, and I thought it followed up with a secondary, the hit that takes you down, and it didn't, and I was like, fuck, dude, memory is a fucking tricky bitch.
Yeah.
It's funny, I've found that there's been a couple films where I've recommended just off of like a memory 10, 15 years ago that left like a mark on me. Thought it'd be interesting for us to talk about. And then when it comes time, there's been a couple where I enjoyed less than you did, or there's like I completely forgot chunks and tons of like wholesale. So
yeah, so I mean, the way this one starts, it's a really cool opening scene where you're watching just this sort of static scene of the front of this house, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? And then they rewind it, and you hear that it's actually a video that they're watching that somebody had left on the board. That was
cool.
Super cool opening. These tapes start showing up, and then pretty quickly you get the impression like, oh, the husband knows because he's having this like weird flashback of this kid who's fucked up, like bloody in the face. So my first thought was, this is a kid that he like hurt or killed in the past, and now it's going to be like a haunting, like because I think it was like the first 15 or 20 minutes they show that first flash of the kid with the like blood on his face.
Yeah.
And so I thought like, okay, this is just going to be like a gratuitous revenge film from the kid. Right. But then it kind of switches gears to like, no, it's not quite the kid. We're not sure who it is. And then, the video of him driving, or the person driving to his mom's house, that
was
switches
fucking
it up.
Creepy.
Very creepy. And then the video of walking through the apartment complex to the door. One of my favorite parts of this entire movie is the female lead, Juliette Binoche, who I thought did a great job.
Yeah, and she's awesome.
I kept thinking, I know this woman from tons of stuff.
Yeah, she's like a crossover. She's French and speaks English fluently, and she's been in really big American pictures before.
The only thing I recognized her from was Dan in Real Life, which is underrated in my opinion.
I've never seen that. That's Steve Carell, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
It's pretty good.
I've heard that. That's one of those ones that slipped through and it didn't get released in theaters for whatever reason, but it was post his 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah.
I think well into him being established.
Yeah.
So I figured like, big names like that, when they come out with stinkers, they usually don't go to a theater, which now it's a different landscape now with streaming and everything. It's like, it's hard to like figure out like, dude, when you use that process, but okay.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I have heard that and I've wanted to see it. She's also in, dude, this is one, my mom loved this fucking movie growing up and I fucking bemoaned it every time we go to, I felt like every other time we went to like the Blockbuster, like she had to get it, you know. I'm like, just fucking buy it, buy the fucking VHS, you know. And so I'd have to sit through it and shit. So it was Sabrina with Greg Kinnear and Harrison Ford.
Dude, I think my mom liked that movie a lot too.
Dude,
was it the original or the remake?
The remake.
Okay.
My mom's a bit younger than yours, so I think she preferred.
What are you trying to say?
I'm saying your mom may be more familiar with the older one, but yeah.
Either way, my mom's 107. Yeah, she likes the original. I'm gonna tell her you said that. She's gonna be crushed.
I hope she doesn't listen to this.
You bastard.
Yeah, the Sabrina from 95. Yeah. That's one of the ones I had to watch. Like there was shit she made me watch and I begrudgingly, as I got older, I'm like, I actually like that movie. Like Overboard with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Love that
sucks
film.
Ass.
But when I was a kid, I had to pretend like I didn't like it.
Yeah,
because she picked it.
Because it's not good.
But no. But Sabrina is one I legitimately like. I was like, dude, I would rather like go to church. I would rather go do like manual labor for 2 hours than have to sit through this shit. But anyway, Juliette Binoche. That's what I know her from, and she has been in American stuff.
Yeah, so I think my favorite scene in this movie is when she's like freaking out, like, what the fuck is going on? And he's like, I think I might know who this is, but I can't tell you. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
But it's not even just that. It's like they go back and forth and he's still not telling her. And she's like, this doesn't make any sense. Why the fuck aren't you telling me this? And he has I meant to write this down because it was so funny. But he has a line when she's bringing up all of these very valid points and he's just completely dismissive and she's like really freaking out. And his final line is like, would you just listen to yourself or something like that? It's like, yeah, we all are. And you are wrong. He's like, wow, do you even hear yourself right now?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was like, no.
I've never seen somebody be more wrong in an argument on film in my life. He's like, what do you mean?
They are who we thought they were.
She's like, yeah, I should be concerned. You think I think I have a hunch as to who this might be, but I'm not going to tell you. Like, okay, guess I'll just hang out at home and die.
Yeah, it's like they're surveilling our house and I'm your wife, whom we have a 14-year-old brat with, and you have a hunch and you're not going to tell me. I don't know any woman that's going to let that fly. Like, yeah, his excuse and like his reasoning was piss poor. At that point, I was like, is this, I thought it was going to go like maybe in did he diddle this kid or did he like humiliate him in like a really disgusting, fucked up way? Like for him to be so adamant.
Yes.
That's what I kept thinking. And I mean, not that it's any, like less profound, but like what ends up driving this kid away. I mean, that
it's
in and
nothing.
of itself is bad, but
it's nothing though.
It's
like they built
but yeah,
it
to
up for
tell your
so
wife,
long.
yeah, like why wouldn't you? Tell your wife. But I don't want to go on the deep end about this stuff, but I did look at some of the like the history between France and Algeria.
Yeah, don't care. I looked a little bit and was like, I really,
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I don't care. I'm having a hard time giving a fuck about any of this. But a lot of it was because, he's like riddled with guilt, and they kept like alluding to it, but not saying what it was. And then when they finally say it, it's like, you were 6 years old. I would not carry this guilt around with me for the rest of my life to the point where I'm like having a complete fucking existential crisis about it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, kids do really shitty things, like especially before 10. Like I feel like you can't really hold them, unless it's something like really super disgusting. You know?
like he was the one who killed his parents or something like that. But
yeah, right.
Like what
just to like
he punched the kid in the face, so he bled from his mouth, and then he told him to kill a chicken.
I think he also does say too. He says he told lies about him or something that would get him. That would turn the favor of the parents against him, so much so that he had to be driven away.
Yeah,
like ostensibly to foster care or whatever that equivalent is in the country at that time in like the 70s.
Yeah.
That's why I looked at like the Algerian, the French relations, which is like, if you go down that rabbit hole, they had a war during this time period between the like 55 and 61. And there's some really bad blood between France and Algeria, like fucking crazy. So that's one of the themes too. People like after the fact, I did some research like that this is kind of scratching at,
but this is a point where it turns from like an interesting thriller to like a weird regional geopolitical drama. And it's like, I wouldn't care about this if this was about the United States and the annexation of Puerto Rico, or if it was about the British and the colonies or whatever fuck, and who cares? Like, this was a cool, scary, we're being watched movie, and now it's like, I feel bad because when I was 6 years old, I told a lie and they took a kid away.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have the same like kind of impact. But, I mean, on the other side of the coin, it definitely had an impact for the kid, Mahdi. Or what is that his name?
No, it's Majid.
Majid, fuck.
Well,
like after their first interaction, and he just starts breaking down and he's crying and stuff. Like, I mean, this kid didn't do those things to him, but he forced him in a situation to where he had to go live this other life. When he took this other branch, and we don't know what happened to him, but in the 30 years from that point to where he's in older adulthood, 40 years.
Yeah.
Like how fucked up of an experience he had to go through then. So much so that he's breaking down in tears. I mean,
yeah, but I guess to respectfully push back, I mean, he seems like a fine adult. He doesn't have any sort of sense of vengeance. They don't live too far from each other, so if he really wanted to seek him out, he could. I think the emotional breakdown after the fact was because he came into his house and was like accusing him of all this crazy shit, and it's like, he's the guy who was a dickhead to me when we were kids. And
yeah, maybe that could have been just a reaction to like the universe, like that you gave me such a shitty fucking roll of the dice.
I did really like that actor though. I mean, like everybody else in this, the guy who played Majid, I will say it might actually be my second favorite, if not my actual favorite scene, is later on with Majid's son in the elevator.
Dude, that scene is so fucking tense.
Is so good.
God. Yeah. That's the cool thing about film, how it can put you in that kind of mindset. Like when you're invested in something for an hour, those really tense scenes where it's like you feel like you're in that elevator.
Yeah.
And you have to face that situation and those eyes on you, like, God, man.
Yeah, they did a really
really
good job
well
of like
acted.
ratcheting up the tension, but I just didn't think the payoff
Yeah.
worked.
The only thing that I think saved, I don't know if saved it's the right word, but like I was thinking about it and trying to reconcile it, and I was like, they intimate at the end there that, you know, this isn't over. Like, Majid's son has designs. He's got something cooking with George and Anne's kid. Like, he's made some inroads, whether it's like drugs or, you know, like, if you really want to do some gymnastics for this film, like, I feel like it leaves the door open a tiny crack for you, the viewer, to like speculate, well, what's Majid's son doing there? He you know, who's filming this fucking thing? Who's doing the videos, you know? Because they sell it so well, Majid and his son denying the tape accusations and like the stuff. But I'm like, then I'm thinking, realistically, who else could it be?
So this is where I come back a little bit, because I thought it could have been the son, right? Mm-hmm. But then one of the most annoying scenes of the entire movie is when the kid goes missing, right?
Right.
And the dad is in his den watching TV at an ungodly high volume. And when the wife comes in to be like, where's our son? I thought he was with you. It's like, turn the fucking TV down. But they pipe it in so high to be like, here's context of what's going on in the region that we want you to be aware of. It's like, right. Yes, I get it. Colonialism is bad. All of this is bad.
Right.
Wonderful. But no husband and wife would be having this type of conversation about, do you have any idea where our son is? Can you turn fucking CNN down a little bit? This is loud as shit. So, but then when they get the kid
Stop
back,
eating my sesame cake.
But when they get the kid back and he walks in like it's no big deal, she's like, where were you? What the fuck was all that about? And he's like, I just think you're a little too close with Pierre. I'm like, what? What does this have to do?
Where's this coming from?
Yeah, because there was a one scene where she went to have lunch with this other French dipshit.
That's the other thing. I thought that was part of this, was like they both have skeletons in their closet kind of thing. And like, I thought it was going to come out that, yeah, she's fucking Pierre.
Okay, but here's where I come back a little bit, because that scene in particular made no sense to me. It pissed me off because my original theory was, well, maybe the kid is involved, but the kid was like really buddy with the dad and like kind of cunty to the mom. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because the mom is the only like rational person in this house and the dad's the fucking weirdo. But in hindsight, when we get to the end and we see the kid talking to Majid's son, then that makes me think the kid was involved at the behest of Majid's son, and he was maybe just trying to cover up his allegiance, like, or maybe his disdain for the dad by, you know, playing it off like, oh yeah, I love my dad. And when he did actually go missing, and then he blamed it on the mom on something that makes no sense, maybe that was like a very smart thing to do, instead of being like, well, I left because I need to gather more intel on dad and all his fucked up past based on my new friend. And he couldn't just tell her that, so he tried to blame it on her because he's a manipulative little shit. Like, it's because you have a friend. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So that's silver lining. Because that final scene, it has to mean something, right? It can't just be a coincidence like these two kids meet each other and they become friends. It has to be retroactive, because I don't know about you, but I don't think Majid had anything to do with it. It doesn't make any sense that he would, but it would make sense that the kid would have planted the camera in the house and maybe fed that info to his friend, the son of Georges, in an attempt to, spur him to do it. Because I didn't think Majid's son had anything to do with it either. He was pretty you'd think he would take credit for it or be proud of whatever, but he was pretty insistent, nope, had nothing to do with it. But
yeah, I mean, he could have been lying, but to me, it felt pretty real because he was so forthright with all of his other emotions and shit that he had to say to him. You fucked my dad's life up and all this shit, and you could tell he was fighting for his dad. That was shit his dad never would have done because he was
too
so
nice,
mild mannered and you know, just a good person, despite all the shit they had to go through. Because he says, my dad raised me a certain way or whatever, he could have taken the shortcut and just been a piece of shit, but he actually instilled values or whatever into me. So, because I mean, that would be your end game, your dad's dead and it's directly related, or not directly, but I mean, this guy's involved in his life. You could easily put the target on him. And if you were to do so, this is your end game. This is your time to get your revenge. You kill him, you strangle him, something, or you humiliate him. You send some incriminating tapes, You send the tape of his dad killing himself to news outlets to publicly shame him because he's a public figure.
So
I don't know.
Not to gloss over what you just said, but when I saw the rating was R for violent gore or whatever, and then an hour and a half into it, I was like, why is this an R-rated movie? And then almost immediately, that's when you get one of the most badass suicide scenes,
dude,
ever.
I went back and I begrudgingly probably 4 or 5 times because the first couple times it's just shock value, and then a couple times more because I was like, dude, that was the way they shot that, and how hard he slits at his throat to make that pyrotechnic or the prosthetic in his neck eject that blood out. However they did that practically was fucking insane. I'd be curious to see what they used, how they built that scene up. But yeah, it's definitely one of the most harrowing fucked up suicides on film outside of reality that I've seen, for sure. It looks like one of those old a barber's knife.
Oh, like a straight razor?
Yeah, it almost looked like one of those. But yeah, he tells him to come in, and he's just hey, I think he reiterates, I want you to know I had nothing to do with this. And he's like, well, what the fuck am I here for? Let's get on with it. And he's like, I just wanted you to be, what's he say? I wanted you to be present.
Yeah.
For this. And he fucking just whips out this knife out of his pocket, fucking slits his throat, and the blood spatter goes in this perfect diagonal on the door and the wallpaper and fucking hits it. He drops, and they stay on that scene too, for an uncomfortably long amount of time, a good 20 seconds that feels like 20 minutes. And I felt that was awesome in a filmmaking perspective, staying on that and then watching it, because I feel that would probably be for a dude who's in his 40s or 50s. You wouldn't be screaming and running around. You'd be in total shock. He's pretty much frozen. I was like, is this another one of those tape pullbacks? And it's you're actually watching what's being recorded right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, super affecting scene and brutal and fucked up and really hits you right in the dick. I remember at the time watching this, I feeling really bad for this character Majid, because he seems kind of frumpy and but he seems very well spoken and You know, he's not a maniac. He's not like barking fire at this dude. You fucked my life up. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
like he wasn't riddled with guilt until he came back into his life, and then he's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
That was a huge bummer. Or, I don't know.
Excuse me. Rollo Tomasio.
Yeah, because I mean, why? If my narrative is right, and he had nothing to do with it, and it was just a kid, like, why would he kill himself? I don't know.
I think, yeah, maybe it was like you said, after seeing him after all those years,
Oh,
it
yeah.
conjured, and in the flesh, maybe it conjured up something in him or reawakened like those memories and
The shame.
and him wanting him to be present. Maybe that was his form of like nonviolent protest or like pacifist, like revenge, like that kind of flavor. Like this, I'm gonna get in your head now for the rest of your years on this earth. You know, like you're gonna fucking live with this. You know.
Yeah, and it
I don't know.
it could have been a big old backfire by the son, because he might have thought that by orchestrating this whole revenge campaign, he could have gotten Georges to kill himself out of guilt, but it ended up
Right.
his dad killing himself out of shame.
I feel like if he would have orchestrated that though, like and that backfire happens, I feel like that would have turned him like against like thinking straight. Like that would have made him go off the handles and just like massacre him at his office or go to
Well,
his
maybe
house.
that's what he was trying to like control himself from doing, because when they have that little thing in the elevator and then he freaks out in the newsroom, and then when it shows him talking to his kid, maybe he's trying to get his kid to kill his dad.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely think that. I mean, he does leave the crack of the door open because he goes out of his way to show you, the director does, that Majid's son, who I keep looking for his name and it's like that's his name in the credits, is Majid's son, but you know, he goes out of his way to clearly show you at the end, like Majid's son knows Perot. He's talking to him. I thought, you know, like his in would be like, you know, drugs or something, you know, or some kind of like hustle or to like get in with him, and that would be his way of, you know, maybe he's gonna, I don't know. It's pure speculation, but at least like they leave the door open and he went out of his way to show you that. So that's got to mean something too. But yeah, I don't know. It's like it seems like one of those like a trick question or like a impossible riddle, like to figure out or think about who the fuck could have done it. But your theory on the sun is interesting. I hadn't thought about that at all.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a cheap ending to have all these loose threads and not tie any of them up, and like his visit to his mom, like,
yeah, that felt kind of weird. I mean, because once you can tell there's like a tonal shift as soon as Majid is brought up. Like, that's a really bad memory for her. So,
well, I thought she was like, I don't remember that, but she's like, you look like a weirdo, like you look fucked up.
Yeah, maybe she made peace with it a long time ago and was like, yeah, that was a piece of shit thing my son did, but I'm gonna choose to like forget it. Or it's like so painful that she's just masking it, like, oh yeah, I don't remember, like, I don't know.
Or it could have just been such a nothing burger because it was 30 something years ago. They could have had a bunch of kids coming in or families coming in and out. And she's like, I have no memory of this at all. And he's just racking himself with guilt for, you don't get it. I told you that he killed a chicken. And they're like, we don't give a fuck. We were going to kill that chicken anyway. Like, we just didn't want him around anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have sworn, I was like, I thought it was going to be something heavier that he did to this dude to fuck him up, and to make, this current situation of just like the videotapes too, like that whole aspect is fucking creepy as shit. And then, it goes into like, then there's points where it's like a familial drama kind of thing, like where they kind of zero in on George and Anne's relationship for a little bit. And you can see how that's kind of strained even outside of that. Like, I have a hunch talk, like I thought there was something going on with her and like that Pierre fella. 'Cause she did seem pretty friendly around him. And, I felt like it, or at least they were kind of teasing you that way too. Or like, wanting you to start thinking about that maybe, but it's definitely a weird, it's a, I wouldn't say singular, but it's definitely a unique film for sure, and one I never would have watched if it wasn't for it had to have been IFC. I think there was a period between like 2007 and like 2012 where I had the IFC channel, and I just like watched a bunch of stuff that I normally never would have, like foreign films and stuff. Like, they just kind of seem inaccessible, and it's like people watch American films globally, like they're played everywhere, so we kind of have like a monopoly on that. But it's not to say they don't, like, different regions don't have their own shit going on. I mean, like, we watched The Raid. I feel like in the last 20 years, global cinema is starting to push back a little bit, or at least kind of carve out their own place. Like, Australians are doing a bunch of crazy cool shit with horror. Irish cinema, there's been a lot of that's been popping up recently. Dude, India is going ham on like these crazy, like these really big, like Marvel style, like with their own kind of like historical influences and their heroes and their stories. Dude, Indian cinema is fucking going gangbusters too, like the last 20 years. I've heard there's an Indian movie called RRR that's supposed to be like, it's 3 hours. It's like super action, like crazy, fucking wild, fantastical. It's supposed to be really fucking dope. That's one I just heard about not too long ago. I think it came out a handful of years ago that I want to check out. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I just have blinders on that don't be afraid to sit through subtitles. It's really not that bad, especially I feel like how more it seems like it's like a in the zeitgeist now. Like, I can't watch a movie without my subtitles. Like, I feel like that's a pretty popular thing these days. Maybe just with like older millennial people on the Gen X kind of spectrum there have this real affinity with fucking captions.
I think it's just one of those things where once you do it, it's hard to go back. Because like we've talked about, we started doing it with, I think, Peaky Blinders, and then
shit
just
that you
everything after
things
that.
On.
Yeah, exactly. But then after that, it's like, why the fuck? Why even stress trying to hear every little thing when you could just throw it on and not even think about it? So,
dude, I do it when I'm watching like kid shit with the kids, even too. Like, I'm like, look, you can read too. This is practice your reading.
Blue's Clue.
Yeah. It actually does help with like Bluey is Australian, so you can catch every word there. And like different stuff like that. That's like got accents and stuff. But yeah, I dude, the amount of foreign films that I've seen is fucking a drop in the bucket to what's out there. So I definitely would like to expand my horizons at some point. But so what do you think after rapping about it for the better part of an hour? Do you have this is a tough one. Only seeing it yesterday, like this is one that's probably gonna would warrant, I don't know, warrant, but it would do you better to form an opinion watching it a second time. But just sitting with it for like a week would probably crystallize. But what do you think after us just talking?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the light column.
Okay.
It definitely has its issues, and I think the issues are like intentional, self-righteous ambiguity for the purpose of just like fart sniffing. But I mean, there's so much of it that I really liked, like the acting, the whole premise, the like the tape rewinding, and that's, you know, I really liked that effect that they did. But yeah, I thought the ending was really dumb, but I think they left enough meat on the bone for me and the autistic community to find something to look at. So I don't know.
What does it make you think about like foreign film? Like, would you be more open to foreign films, or does it make you want to seek out? I know like this is a pretty niche type of movie that's not like representative, but I feel like on the whole, on balance, most foreign films are a little bit headier. Like they're more they're not, it's not like a 1-to-1 when you compare it to like American films over the past 50, 70 years.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know how to even answer that because I don't know much about American film, so it's hard to compare and contrast that to any other country. But I will say, as much as I don't give a fuck about American films who are trying to like make an allegory or a metaphor about some other geopolitical thing or whatever, I definitely could not care less about a foreign country who's doing the same thing. So,
Okay.
if that helps.
Yeah, I've actually I've seen a lot, listening to Straight Chilling. They've gone out of their way to feature some foreign horror films that were fucking dynamite. Like I've seen some really really good shit, and they have a pulpit coming up, and it I think it's in the lead, but they may be covering Memories of Murder here pretty soon, which is a South Korean film from 2003. And this is one, I think a couple years ago, after I had done a rewatch of True Detective season 1, I was itching for more of that. So I went to the fucking Google cave and I was like, what's like True Detective season 1? Give me. And, you know, there's a lot of the common ones, but then this one popped up. It was Memories of Murder from 2003. It's directed by, I think his name's Bong Joon-ho from of Parasite fame.
Okay.
Won the Oscar a couple years ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I'm aware.
Yeah, he's a heavy hitter for sure. Like he's transcended that, you know, foreign. Like it was Best Picture, it wasn't Best Foreign Film, you know, for Parasite, but he's directed a lot of good shit, including Memories of Murder, and I wouldn't say it's a 1-for-1, but like to True Detective, I don't think anything can be, but it scratches that kind of itch for like something that's dark and like I don't even know how to describe it, but like it's detectives on the case,
like a mysterious
really
web.
weird esoteric set of fucking killings with like some symbolism, and like really good character development, and it's fucking awesome. I would highly recommend that one. But I saw there was this movie, I think it's from somewhere in the mid-aughts, maybe 2008, called The Wailing. That's a horror film from South Korea also. That's fucking awesome. Like it's really good shit. It's like super powerful. It's like, yeah. So yeah, South Korea is doing a lot of cool stuff too. Like they did Train to Busan, that big zombie movie that they're fucking remaking, of course, now in the States in the next year or two, I think. Yeah, they're doing a lot of cool stuff too. So yeah, watch more foreign films, I guess, is the moral of the story. Or don't be afraid to, rather. Cool. Anything?
I've never seen The Godfather, so I'm probably not going to venture out to watching South Korean niche horror films.
Well, dude, The Wailing, I might pick one day, depending on how long we do this. It's fucking good.
It's the only way I'm going to watch it.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
Yeah, that's the fun of this show. Is it's like you have to watch these, and with Caché, that puts us up to we're a 65-9, which puts us at an 87.8% approval rating. Let's see. Any last words about Caché before we move on?
No. Nope. I'm good.
Okay. Looking forward to next week. We should be confirmed, but maybe we'll just float a tentative out there in case Dick Dog has a last minute change of plans. But we will be welcoming back fan favorite or show favorite, and one of our favorites, Richard, aka Dick Dog, and we will be discussing a baseball movie, which is very on brand. Richard is one of the biggest baseball nerds that I've ever come across in my life, and I love it.
Baseball.
And we'll be discussing 1999's For Love of the Game, which I have never seen before, and which Steve and Dick Dog highly tout.
Yeah, it's no Bull Durham or Major League, but it's very good.
Yeah, it seems like it's a different kind of film, whereas, I mean, Bull Durham can be serious and it's a drama in parts, but it's pretty comedic, and Major League is just balls to the wall, comedy, romp, baseball. So I'm curious. I'm not gonna.
I mean, Kevin
I'm not
Costner,
gonna come in with any.
John C. Reilly.
I'm a sucker for Costner for sure all day.
The dearly departed Kelly Preston.
Yep. I was reading. This made me chuckle. I was going through the IMDb, like the actors involved, because I knew it was a big baseball movie and I wanted to see
Vin Scully, right?
I don't know. Is he one of the announcers in this, or is he featured?
I thought so, maybe.
I saw one of, like, because I was looking for old baseball players, maybe kind of like mediocre folks that they kind of snatch up. Yeah. One of which, a name that I saw that I've heard him say many a time, is Ricky Leday.
Oh yeah,
is in the film.
Yeah, doesn't he have a kid playing in the majors now?
Does he?
I think he might. I think there's a Ricky Leday Jr. floating around.
Dude, totally kind of on topic, but totally off topic. I happened to see a reel of a flashback to Vladimir Guerrero after he'd retired, throwing the first pitch at an Angels game when Don Baylor caught it. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, where he breaks his ankle?
Broke his femur, it turns out.
He broke it? What?
Yeah, the way it looks is like he comes down real weird on one knee, kind of, and it looks like total ankle or shin or something split in half. But no, I fucking researched it. So he was riddled with cancer, which I guess can fuck up your bone density like real bad. So he was in remission, but he had been battling cancer for like 2 years prior to that. And yeah, snapped his fucking femur.
The biggest bone in your body?
Dude. Yeah, I some people in the comments and shit were just like, dude, that is the wildest non-contact femur break of all time, probably.
Because it's got to be tough to recover from that. I mean, he couldn't have lived that much longer, right?
Yeah, he passed away like 2 years after that. He had just become the hitting coach for the Angels. I don't know when this was, but yeah, I was like, God damn, dude, that sucks.
Yeah,
so bad.
Wow.
And you see it kind of go jelly on him, and like people have to lift him up. It's pretty fucking horrific. It's even worse when you learn that it was the femur.
Yeah, because
that's doing that when he's trying to stand up on it.
Times I thought it was just like a foot or a tib thing in the lower leg, but
no, that whole shit is twisting and moving abnormally from up top. Like, ugh. Yeah, fuck that.
On my head?
I'm not your dada.
Not your fucking dada. Have you watched Fargo season 1 yet?
No, not yet.
No. Billy Bob's awesome in it. Plays a stone cold killer, and he's rad as fuck. All right.
It's on the list.
It's on the old list. All right, well, that'll do it for Caché and for us this evening. If you have any comments, hate mail, you can drop us a line via email at waxingtheporpoise.com, or either of our socials. You can reach out. Instagram is at waxingtheporpoise. Twitter, X is at waxingtheporp. For Love the Game next week, check it out. It's actually a rental only. It is not streaming anywhere. Unless you know, check archive.org. I've been finding a lot of hidden gems found there where you don't have to worry about, whatever .virus giving you a fucking malware or whatever. So yeah, check that out. And we'll have Dick Dog back. We'll force him to join. Any final thoughts, Steve-O?
No, don't think so.
Well, that'll do it for us. We'll see you when we see you, and we'll see you later.